This review has been brought to you by Brahms. No, in all seriousness, what's up, everybody? It is Zach of Darkon Entertainment, and as you can tell by the title, I just got done watching Dune 2021, and I had some basic thoughts that I wanted to give out about the film, and then some more, I guess, in-depth criticism slash reviewing of it. Non-spoiler territory first, and then I will tell you when did I get into spoiler territory. And since barely anybody in America has seen it right now, I will definitely want you guys, prefer you guys, for your own sake at least, to see this movie before you have to hear my commentary about the spoiler worthy type stuff. So anyway, ready or not, you set, go. So, it's pretty good. This movie is pretty good. I think what this movie just nails at the most is immersion and atmosphere. Like, there was so much with the cinematography, the soundtrack, and the sound effects, and the set pieces too. But it was the soundtrack and sound effects and atmospheric sounds, and just in general, that was the best part of it. Going into this movie, at least. I mean, it definitely at the beginning. Throughout the rest of the movie, it was pretty immersive in that area as well. But definitely in the beginning, when you go hearing the opening music, it just wraps you up and just leashes you inward. You cannot help but get encapsulated by Hans Zimmer's work. If hardly any of you have heard, Hans Zimmer, the guy who did the Dark Knight soundtrack, I think it's the Dark Knight soundtrack. I don't know. I better stop myself before I sound too ignorant. But yeah, Hans Zimmer is the one who did this soundtrack, and it is pretty damn good. The action is pretty good. Like, typically when you go talking about sci-fi, you think like laser guns and all that other kind of stuff. There are some laser guns in this movie for all of you who are like into that more stereotypical sci-fi, but the laser guns, they are more like anti-armor weaponry almost instead. But more typically than not, soldiers just go using swords. There is a little bit of lore-related stuff as to why that is, of why that people use swords more than anything. It kind of correlates with their personal shield as well. But the action is pretty good. I will not say that the action is like that focused. Like, if I was to compare it to Lord of the Rings, I would say that Lord of the Rings definitely beats Dune. But the action, it was pretty good nonetheless. It was pretty fun to watch and all that. Special effects. Special effects are definitely better than the older Dune movie in 1984. Like, especially with the personal shielding. Like, the personal shields in the 1984 Dune, it was all like, hello, Tron is calling. They want their special effects back. Like, they were just really bad. But in this movie, they're actually pretty good. They looked like they wrapped your body in like a sound barrier, and the special effects worked to where it actually looked like that sort of thing was happening. And also the worm sound effects, the worm special effects, and the special effects with everybody's eyes. Like, it looked like that the people's eyes were actually blue. Anybody who took the spice melange, anyways, I mean, especially the Fremen. Whereas if you compare it to the 1984 version, it's just pretty much somebody was like in post. It was like a plainly could be told that in post somebody just edited blue blurs over everybody's eyes who took the spice in the 84 version. But here, their eyes actually look blue. The entire thing. Like, there was a lighter blue where the whites are supposed to be, and then there was a darker blue where the normal coloring is supposed to be. I'm getting my optometry wrong here. But nonetheless, there's all that. The characters were pretty good, pretty likable. From Gurney to Duncan to Duke Leto Atreides. Like, can we just take a moment here and really appreciate that Chad-like beard of Leto Atreides? Like, I just gotta say, like, Oscar Isaac's beard as playing as Leto Atreides, that was a pretty damn badass design that he got going there. Like, when I saw this in the trailer, I was all like, damn, there's one sharp looking beard right there. Not gonna lie. Makes me kind of jealous, actually. But nonetheless, and despite the stellar star casting right here, from Jason Momoa to Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, and Dave Bautista, none of them, like, this was a thing that Loudmouth Reviews had mentioned, like, in the lead up of this movie. He was afraid that some of the star power was going to take away the shining moments of when that Paul Atreides was supposed to shine. Not getting into spoiler territories right here, but the star power did not outshine the story arc, the character arc of Paul Atreides, in spite of the big name casting for all the other side characters. And so, yeah, Paul Atreides was not shined out for his story build-up and all that stuff. So, all of you people who are Dune buffs, you will not be disappointed in that area. But at the same time, the star power is the thing that helps draw in new fans for Dune. So I think that Denis Villeneuve, he, like, handled it very, very well. I gotta say, props to y'all. And Timothy Chalamet, he did a pretty good job playing as Paul Atreides. Like, I think the guy is like 21, 22, something like that. He is like early to mid 20s, and yet he actually looks the part of being a mid to late teens, as according to the books and whatnot. Paul Atreides, he is in fact himself supposed to be a teenager. Whereas in compared to the 1984 version, Paul was not played by anybody who looked even vaguely like a teenager. What else do I have to nail down here before I get into spoiler territory? I will say that out of all the actors and actresses, I will say that the only one who really kind of bugged me was Dave Bautista playing as Rafa Harkonnen, or whatever his last name is supposed to be, the Beast. Dave Bautista, he did manage to get out of the Drax personality that we all typically know him as, but at the same time, I still have to say that his acting just came off a little bit overly stiff at some points. So when it comes to acting performances, Dave Bautista is a little bit on the lower rungs of the ladder. But everyone else, from Josh Brolin as Gurney, Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, Oscar Isaac as Leto Atreides, particularly. The one actress, I can't remember her name right now, who plays as Jessica, she was pretty damn good. You could actually get emotionally invested into her part and all that stuff. Timothy Chalamet, everyone else was good. Just Dave Bautista, I thought that he was a little bit lacking. Even what's her face, who played as Liet Kynes. I'm not going to lie. When I got into hearing about how that this was essentially a gender bend that they were doing, I was a little bit concerned, and but really there was no big time concern as far as strictly speaking about the story of Dune. There's a huge debate about on the internet about whether or not they should have done the gender bend. As me, Reckless Trucker, and Loudmouth kind of laid out in our Dune review, or our stream, responding to Quinn's ideas on that, amongst other things surrounding Dune and the politics of it. There is some deep lore issues with the gender bend of Liet Kynes, but at the same time, strictly speaking, on the story, as far as I can tell, it did not take anything away as far as the loyalty of the books go, or the loyalty to the books goes in relation to the movie. And I also have to say that, I'm not gonna lie, I was detecting some Captain Marvel vibes out of this when I was seeing the actress when she was being interviewed by Stephen Colbert and all that other stuff. I thought we was gonna get a Captain Marvel sort of character, because Captain Marvel, honestly, she's overall in the Marvel movies kind of a bit of a dull plank of wood, and she's kind of stiff in some ways, and in other areas she's overly smug, superior, and got a grumpy face, and just overall not very anything devoid of being mean-spirited. But whereas Liet Kynes, she was not in the same realm as Captain Marvel when it came to that sort of aura. So I was all like, phew, that was a little bit a relief, I'm not gonna lie, if we were to get into the political side of this for a moment here. But I will say that with actually, no, that is, I was about to mention something that gets into spoiler territory. But I think that's all that I have to say. Right now, I am cutting it right here for the non-spoiler territory. 8 out of 10, really like this movie, and I'll get into why I did not rank it anything stronger than an 8 out of 10, but definitely go see it yourself. If you haven't seen this movie yet, go and watch it yourself. Really, seriously, go watch it. Why are you even still watching this review of mine? Like, get on your smartphone, even if you're at work right now, get on your smartphone and get on the website, reserve yourself a ticket for the closest or the soonest ticket reservation that you can for this movie, and go watch it right then. Go ahead, do that. Shoo. You still here? Alright, so I guess that means you want to hear my spoiler portion of the review then. So, as far as spoilers go, loyalties would be, is that Leto Atreides pretty much going out like a badass, seeing the only opportunity to kill, or try to kill the Baron by crushing the poisonous tooth that was put in his mouth by Dr. Yui, in order to try and kill the Baron. Of course, he was not successful. That was, as far as I know, with source material, that was pretty loyal, pretty cool. I haven't seen Gurney died yet, so I think that we're going to end up seeing Gurney possibly in the sequel, in the part 2 of Dune. And one thing that kind of bugged me about this movie is that Duncan Idaho dies. I was a little bit disappointed. Like, I thought, if I remember correctly, I thought that he lived past this point as far as the Dune canon goes, the Dune anthology goes. I thought, if I recall correctly, there was some line of dialogue that he has with some other character where he's arguing with him in Dune Messiah. Dune Messiah, by the way, is the second book of the anthology, and we're not even like past, or we're barely past the halfway point of the first book, according to how Denis Villeneuve is setting up this these two movies anyways. So I do not know, maybe I'm misremembering some things, because I do know that in the later books that Duncan Idaho gets cloned, essentially, turns into a Gola, as a Gola is like the technical term within the Duneverse of a clone. So I definitely know that by the time of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, that a Gola, Duncan Idaho, is essentially made. Maybe I'm misremembering it, and maybe there's a Gola of Duncan Idaho that is made in Dune Messiah as well after he dies. But I don't know. I just cannot remember when I listened to Quinn's Ideas summations about the books of him dying in the first book. So that's probably the biggest reason why I do not have this movie ranked as strong as I could right now. Give it a 9 out of 10 is because of the fact that Duncan Idaho dies so soon. It's a little bit disappointing. Like, I would have liked to have seen Duncan Idaho, Jason Momoa's Duncan Idaho, kick Rafa's ass, Dave Bautista's ass. I would have liked to have seen one big meaty muscle head duke it out with another meaty muscle head, but no, we did not get that. Instead, Duncan Idaho, he goes down in a blaze of glory against a swarm of regular milquetoast, regular old grunts. I mean, it's still like rather fitting for Duncan Idaho as far as I can tell, but nonetheless, would have been nice if he went mano a mano with Rafa, just in my opinion. What else is spoiler territory? Oh yes, Liet Kynes. Liet Kynes apparently gets swallowed up by a worm at going late into the second half of this movie. So one thing that about Quinn's ideas and his criticism towards everybody who is like criticizing the gender bend of Liet Kynes in this movie he mentioned in one of his videos, he mentioned in the one video that he did in response to all SJWs, saying anti-SJWs are crying about Dune 2021, blah, 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 blah. He goes saying that in Dune, they can, or in the David Lynch movie, they have barely any relation. Like, Elliot Kynes originally is a dude and is the father of Chani. And Chani doesn't actually show up in this movie until like the very bare end of this movie. Also getting into spoiler territory right there. I mean, I'm already into spoiler territory. What am I talking about? But Elliot Kynes is originally Chani's father, and they don't actually show any screen time or relation between the two characters in the David Lynch movie. And he says Quinn's ideas go saying in defense of the gender bend that they could make it so that being now Chani's mother instead of father, Elliot Kynes could have a little bit more relatability with Chani. Having a mother-daughter relationship instead of a father-daughter relationship, which that criticism honestly does not make much sense because as we know by all the Marvel movies that they make those father-daughter relationships work quite well. And if you watch The Mask of Zorro too, that's another example that just came off the top of my head right now. Anthony Hopkins and what's her face, in that movie, yada yada. What was I gonna say? So it seems to be a little bit of a moot point in that matter, because in that case, because in this movie they did not have any relationship between each other in this movie, no interactions with each other at all in this movie either. Like Elliot Kynes, Chani not sharing one bit of screen time, not one bit of dialogue, not one bit of character development between them two. So Quinn's idea's defense kind of falls flat on its face in that regard, seeing as how Elliot Kynes ultimately died, getting swallowed up along with 3 Sardaukar soldiers that were swallowing her up. But I don't know. Who knows? I could possibly be wrong. Maybe in part 2 of Dune we will end up seeing that somehow Elliot Kynes survived. Maybe in part 2 of Dune we'll see also that somehow Duncan Idaho survived, even though that he got stabbed to death, and they had like a one final shot of Duncan's face, where that his face was just in a dead stare, essentially. But I don't know, who knows? Well, I'll just have to wait and see until Dune Part 2. So this review is getting a whole lot longer than I originally wanted it to be, but nonetheless, again, if you haven't seen this movie yet, I do not know why you're still watching this review right now. But nonetheless, if you haven't seen this movie, go ahead and watch it. And if you have already watched this movie in the theaters, well then probably doesn't hurt to go ahead and give it another watch in order to like boost up that box office a bit, so as to prompt them to maybe even more give a more a higher budget to making the sequel. Have some bigger, more grandiose battles happen than even what they had happen in this movie right here. Actually, there is one thing that I want to mention before I get out of here. Paul Atreides, when he's like in the tent with his mother Jessica, as he is like getting prescience, as he is like inhaling more of the spice that's in the air on Arrakis, he ends up getting more and more of his prescience to where that he can see into the future, and he sees a great jihad, the great jihad that is done in his name. Millions, billions even, dying in his name, in Paul Atreides' name, because he is the Messiah of the Fremen, essentially. And it just makes him go crazy to where that when Jessica tries to embrace him, he's all like, "Get away from me," as he speaks in the voice. I was just all like, damn. Like that kind of really intimidated me. Like you can, if you watch this movie, you really get invested into the relationships between all these characters. I mean, most of the relationships are more focused between Paul and the other characters. Like the other side characters, they do not go interacting that much with each other. I mean, they do interact. I'm not going to try to take anything away, but I don't know. It seemed that Paul was in. It seemed. almost a little bit too Paul-centric sometimes within this movie. Maybe that's another reason why I did not rank this movie higher than I could have, is because it seemed a little bit too Paul-centric. I don't know. But nonetheless, I am blabbering. I'm going to get out of here. Again, watch this movie. 8 out of 10. Watch it. See y'all later. Have a good night, and God bless. Take care.